Hello? No, can't hear anything. I have to join again. Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, okay, I can hear you. Simon? Tor?
Hey.
Yeah, good morning, good morning. And Boone is here too, right? So we're waiting for James Brown. So how are you? Everything's good in Denmark?
Yeah, we are sent home again, so but that's okay. The university is closed, so.
I'll turn off the video for now. Sometimes we have Wi-Fi connection problem. So, Tor, how are you? We can't hear you. Check your microphone, can't hear you. Give it 1 minute. If James Brown doesn't come, then we start anyway. Boone, how are you? Can you speak?
Yes, I'm good.
Quality good. We haven't spoken for a few days. There are things happening in the TokenScript side, but I don't want to bother you because I heard you have lots of things already. Yeah.
Okay.
Recently, I'm working with Oleg on making some web implementation of TokenScript features. So we do it on the web first and then make it available on mobile.
Okay. Hi, Tor.
Hello, are you able to hear me now?
Yes, we are.
All right, great. I don't know. It said it apparently changed the setting to use a microphone that didn't exist.
So today I only want to cover two agendas, two topics. Sorry, I didn't write the agenda before the meeting because later I have a meeting after this and couldn't go too deep into either direction. So the two things I want to talk about is first the use cases that can be supported by a check protocol, and second being that the JavaScript interface for working with cards and TokenScript on the web. I will talk about the JavaScript case first because it's more intense, and then the other one is more is easier. So I'm going to share. Maybe I share my browser screen. How do I share screen? Share. Okay. So I don't. Hi, James Brown. Nice to see you.
Hi.
Hi. So James and Boone, remember that we talked once about activating cards from JavaScript. That was quite a few weeks ago, and we haven't been able to do that anything on that front until very recently.
Is this for the small items on the item view?
No, it's about how to open the card from the web.
Okay.
So here is the bit of sample code that I wrote, like a sample API interface. And I have an alternative which I didn't write, but let's look at this first. So this page takes the example of entry token.xml, the default simplest token script we ever signed, and there are two things happening. First, that this page is a demonstration of showing the card in the web page, and then there's iframe as a container for the token card. And when the document is loaded, the website's JavaScript create a token view using this container, and it's created a token view of this entry token. Never mind the misspelling. And this creates the token view, and this renders the token view. And the second is here's an example of action card. And this button starts the action, which is a new token action. And the name of the action is enter, as defined in the token script. And the token that is relevant is entry token. So this is the first minimalist API. Does it make sense to you?
Yes.
And one thing to be aware is, in this case, the test page seems to be from the same, the test page simply can be the dep of the entry token. But architecturally, this doesn't have to be the case. So an ideal example, not this one, an ideal example would be the web page in the e-commerce website. And the action might be provided by a payment token or even AAVE. So the website is from different company or entity than the token. And this is using a TokenScript bootstrap.js. This JavaScript simply does nothing at all if it detected a dep browser with TokenScript support. But if there's a if the browser doesn't support TokenScript, which is 100% today, then this JavaScript in this library provided any the underlying code for this kind of API. So far, so good?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, makes
Where
sense.
does the token data come from?
You mean what are the token attributes, right?
Yes, where do they get pulled from?
So let's say if we don't use context, then we assume the context being that the user is the owner of the token, right?
Okay.
Yeah, in that case, the token script has all the description of how to get every attribute. And the token script bootstrapped.js is able to get all the attributes in the traditional way without a token layer, without data layer, because there's no data layer.
Boone, just as a sort of an aside, we have the way that we currently do this in the DMZ is we have a sort of a backend that resolves attributes via the same engine that Alpha Wallet Android uses. So that's how we do it currently.
Right, but I suppose this is for more general use. Does it mean that that backend engine has to be installed and running for every website which uses this?
No, I think the idea is to make it into to make a JavaScript engine to do this.
So it really depends on if your browser supports. We're talking about design, right? So we can talk about the products that doesn't exist so far. So if your browser supports TokenScript, it has a TokenScript engine in it, then it should know for the given context how to populate the data, and it might already have the data. If you are talking about if the browser does not support a TokenScript engine, then Bootstrap.js provides this. Of course, without the PTIPS guarantee, but it does provide the functionality.
Are you saying that things like the user's wallet address goes into the context?
Yes, I think so. In this context, if the default context is always owner, so context has a few things, for example, whether or not this token's behavior is related to certain website, whether or not it's related to certain user, like if you're owner of the token, or if you're just looking at token someone owns, or that if you are the borrower of token or the lender of the token, or that if the token is programmed to only work with certain context, for example, a wallet or a certain geographical location setting. Basically, if you imagine that a token being a key, then the context is a setting where the key can be applied.
Okay.
I would assume that the context is the default context for 99% of the cases, because unless you are making a kitty market where you want to render the kitty of someone else, then context is always the default.
Then when you launch an action and you try to post a transaction, how would that work?
You mean this section?
Yes.
Yeah, so in this case, we have a minimal example because enter action only does one thing, that let you enter the door. There's no payload. Is this what you mean? Because enter simply creates a attestation that can be used. I didn't write any code of how to obtain the attestation and use that. That's something that I should do later. But this is just a very simple example. So imagine,
because you mentioned this TokenScript bootstrap.js. It basically implements the TokenScript engine. And I'm trying to understand, when we don't have the TokenScript engine, how does this TokenScript bootstrap.js provide access to attributes to the user's wallet and post a transaction?
Using JavaScript? Is that even an answer? And web3.js?
No. Okay, so let's say launch action posts a transaction.
Yes.
How does the JavaScript hit an RPC node?
Well, first, the JavaScript detect if there is web3.js installed, and if it has step by step. If web3.js installed, then it's all right. If if there is no web3.js, maybe a version of web3.js is embedded in the Bootstrap as a default fallback. Then it will check if the user have an account. And if the account requires connection, it would ask the users to MetaMask, for example, to start the connection to the account. Then it will learn the account address. Then it will assemble the transaction according to the transaction declaration in the TokenScript. Then it will ask when the user confirmed the action, it will ask MetaMask or whatever wallet provider to sign that. Then it returns a promise of the result.
Right. So when you say TokenScript bootstrapped, so that it still requires something like MetaMask.
Oh yes, of course. Sorry. To start the conversation, you need MetaMask. Sorry.
I see. Okay.
I'm saying that if you have a TokenScript engine enabled dApp versus you have a dApp browser that doesn't have TokenScript engine, not that if you have a TokenScript enabled engine versus a plain old Firefox.
Right. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, sorry. And I sometimes don't remember the mindset I started with. Does it make sense so far? Then I will start asking a few questions for how you would design it.
Yes. Yes. Sounds
Okay.
good.
Okay. First, I know that the handling of the promise is empty from line 20 to 21. There should be stuff. That will be the separate TokenScript meeting. The first point being that you know that when we pass context or when we pass a payload here, we are passing a lot of stuff. So depends on what the thing is doing at the moment. So imagine there's a payment token, right? Then the payload will necessarily include which address to pay and how much to pay. In another action, maybe let's say if you have a line of credit enabled by AAVE, then if the action is also called pay, it's like a draw from the line of credit and pay, then you will have three in the payload. One is the target address, and the other is the amount, and the third is the type of currency. So similarly, context might have other stuff in it. So I'm thinking that an alternative approach is oh, by the way, if you are an e-commerce website that wish to incorporate a crypto payment token, then the function here is the only thing you will need to program. Maybe you will also program the token card just for the users to know their balance before they go to checkout, but that's optional. So so alternatively, oh, am I successfully sharing my screen? I guess you guys didn't see anything.
Nope.
Oh, no.
How do I do this? It's so confusing. How do I share anything? I don't know what happened. I couldn't share anything. After so many years, I still don't know how to use Zoom.
Do you need to stop sharing first?
Oh, am I sharing?
Nope, you're not.
Oh yeah, okay. This is weird. So I accidentally clicked the leave button. And if I click the leave button, it will ask me a question that, do you want to really leave? However, that question is a modal dialog and doesn't have a taskbar entry. So it's not, once you swap out of it, there's no way to swap back to it, to that question. You have to close every window until that question resurfaces. And before that question resurfaces, you cannot do anything. Okay. Okay, alternatively, so I'll copy this code. Okay, alternatively, yeah, so so okay, makes sense. So I'll explain why I think this might be better. The reason it might be better is we can potentially
it's not the intention to have something like Wallet Connect interfacing with this, in which case all of that fingerprint stuff is abstracted.
Okay, sorry. I want to say prototype, but prototype is
right. Okay. Got it.
Entry token dot entry. By the way, if you have Wallet Connect, the action card will simply launch in your wallet. So you see that in this code it doesn't say where the card is launched. So if you have a MetaMask, then you will have a new layer on top of it. The layer look like the paywall layer, paywall that is laid on top of the New York Times. Basically, everything else is covered by a dense fog, and you only have the foreground where there's action that you are dealing with. But if you have Wallet Connect, it might pop up in your mobile phone, right?
Yes, that's pretty much it. Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is, if you've got a browser plugin wallet like MetaMask, then it's going to be handled all natively, like you say, like the New York Times paywall message. But otherwise, something pops up in a wallet, and there wouldn't there have to be like a signal on the website to say that it's awaiting wallet action?
So let's say if you are using a TokenScript enabled MetaMask, then you don't need that because MetaMask will be showing the action in the MetaMask Dropbox.
Yes, but isn't the intention of this to be universally compatible? So basically, it's a layer on top of Web3.js. So basically, MetaMask can drive TokenScript without knowing what TokenScript is.
Yeah. If it's on the mobile phone, then there will be a status symbol showing that something is going on in your mobile phone.
Yeah. Okay. So, that's fine. Okay.
The old implementation is abstracted out. The intention is that a web developer who wants to be compatible with the tokens do not need to use Web3.js. And they don't need to know, they only need to launch the right token and the trust relationship, which smart contract to call, and all kinds of things are sorted out for them. They work a layer higher.
Yes, that's understand.
Okay. So the reason I'm thinking about this design is that we can potentially do something like this. Amount. What should I else put? This can potentially help, let's say, IntelliJ to automatically remind developers what are expected in the payload. If we plug in IntelliJ in the right way. Otherwise, if we use the method in line 5, then if we use the method in line 5, then IntelliJ wouldn't be able to know how to help the users because the payload availability depends on the 2 parameters. Does what I said make any sense to you?
Sorry, could you repeat that? So,
Okay, so
Good.
the reason I suggest I'm thinking about a design in the line 12 over line 5 instead of line 5 is because if we do it in line 12 style, we can have the prototype defined like line 16. Therefore, IntelliJ is able to help the developer.
yes, okay, I've got it.
To fill
Yeah,
the payload.
I prefer line 12 star as well. Yeah.
But if we do it in line 5, then it's entirely runtime. Then IntelliJ cannot help the developers to put the right payload in. Make sense?
Which line are you comparing line 5 to?
Line 12.
What's the difference?
The difference is that in line 12, there are no strings being passed around. Instead of a new token action, whose parameter are the name of the action and name of token, you do a new token entry token dot enter action. The name of the token and name of the action is not in the string. Basically, static types are strong typed.
I know you're talking about typing. So are you saying that in line 5, after I open the parenthesis, auto completion cannot tell me to enter a string? Is that what you're saying?
It can, but it cannot help you to let's say if you want to do this. Oh, why don't I copy that line? Okay. If you want to do this, okay, then IntelliJ cannot tell you that an amount is expected.
But that's not the difference between line 5 and line 15.
Oh, in line 15, and I've done typing.
Okay.
Actually,
Maybe. Never mind, I'll check with you later, another point of time.
yeah, okay. Yeah, and also this is the I don't know if you remember, but I always mentioned that the TokenScript should be deployable on the web. So in this case, if the entry token.xml is provided, it can only contain the portion of TokenScript that is needed for this web action to be executed. So let's say if you have TokenScript entry token that the full TokenScript include actions like authorizing someone else to access the door, then that action is not needed to be included in the TokenScript linked for this web page. So this one doesn't have to be a full token script. That makes sense too, right? As long as the portion of token script is also signed, which is what XML signature can do anyway.
Yes, but shouldn't it be the same piece of token script that is used on mobile, but only a subset is being used?
Ideally, it should be only a subset, because if you deploy it on the web, you cannot expect every deb browser to have the wallet feature. So, for example, MetaMask doesn't provide wallet context, so you cannot see all of the tokens, their balances, and their token cards. But these tokens are still yours and can function with the right website.
Why do you say that MetaMask can't do that? Because shouldn't that be the...
Unless we make it able to do that. So if we make a plugin for MetaMask, we probably will be making a plugin that implements actions, but it doesn't provide any more context than what MetaMask already have. So that means if you use MetaMask and you are using the web deployed token script, then MetaMask doesn't have a locally installed token script repository. So
shouldn't that
yes,
all be handled by TokenScript Bootstrap?
All handled by the TokenScript plugin in MetaMask in this case, because MetaMask has a TokenScript plugin. We're talking about a scenario where Bootstrap is not needed. That means if you are using Alpha Wallet, of course, you have the full TokenScript installed in the wallet. But having the full TokenScript installed in the wallet is not a requirement of using TokenScript or deploying TokenScript. You only need to have the full TokenScript installed in your wallet if you provide the wallet context. We briefly talked about this before. Remember that when we were almost going to offend Apple by making downloadable components, I explained that it's deployed on the web. The fact that it can be downloaded can be considered as a special case where it is deployed on the web, because it's just one additional context. Instead of this thing is designed for being deployed in the wallet. And I asked at that time that should we prioritize the web deployment of TokenScript so that if Apple choke us, we can point out that it's web technology and you don't actually have to store TokenScript and maintain update in your wallet for it to work. However, Victor said, no, we don't have enough time to prioritize that, I think. Make sense so far? So yes, it should be a subset of the TokenScript installed in your wallet, but there's no guarantee that you have TokenScript installed in your wallet, or even you have a wallet that is capable of keeping a copy of TokenScript. We only have 10 minutes. Can we move to the next topic?
Sure.
Okay, so next one is about, I'm going to share a different screen. So do you guys remember the check protocol we discussed heavily in 2018, but didn't discuss in 2019, I believe? So a check protocol is basically it's a multi-sig protocol. What it does is it allows one person to write a check that allows the other person to redeem token. It doesn't have to be redeemed token. It can be progressing like being able to vote or anything that smart contract would ask you to do. But the process of writing a check and the cashing out the check doesn't have to cash out actually money. It can be action, can be done on the smart contract. And before the check is used, it doesn't have to be available. It is not available on the blockchain at all. So is this? I think we haven't talked about check for a long time. Does it ring a bell?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And the first minimum viable product using check is the one that where we send Ether by email address. So what you do is you can write a check and allow another person to redeem your Ether, certain amount of Ether, if the other person is able to provide a attestation that satisfies the criteria in the check. And the nature of it being multi-sig means that the writer of the check puts a signature there, and the person who redeems it needs to put a final signature on the transaction. And since I'm going to give a talk on authentication, authorization, and multi-sig this evening in EEA, I'm using this slide to sync up with the team on use cases of the check. So I listed 4 use cases, and Sunil chose these 2 and say you should talk about these 2. So the first case is an authorized access. So in this case, a CEO issues a check allowing withdrawing from the company's Ether account with the following conditions. First, provision up to 100 Ether daily. And second, access, that is only employees attested, like an attested bookkeeper, maybe, is able to use it to pay for goods and services. And if the right employee under the provision has a check and has attestation, he is able to pay, let's say for hosting on the web, which is payable by Ether. He can just combine his check and attestation and do this payment. And this flow is actually the same as it would happen with Alice sending 1 Ether to Bob. On the right side, contract work is a case. This is a case actually we discussed in the bank as well. So a customer write a check of 5 Ether, let's say house renovation. And if the job is done, the worker is able to redeem the money. The contractor, having done the job, would get a third party, let's say a validator, to validate the job being complete. That's attestation. And then he can take this attestation and redeem the money. That would be the 2 use cases of check protocol. The other 2 Sunil didn't select are first reverse bidding. Reverse bidding or tender is the right name. So let's say you want to, you make an offer to pay half Ether for any 5-star, 4-star hotel who are able to service you for 1 night in Sydney. And that would be a cryptographically signed message with the offer, and it's because it's connected to the smart contract. Any hotel is able to use this to redeem money from your smart contract, but the hotel needs to have a attestation showing that they are either a 5-star hotel or authorized personnel from the 5-star, 4-star hotel. Otherwise, anyone can redeem your money. That's another use case, and Sunil says it's too complicated to talk in public talk, so I didn't do that. But that would be a case of check protocol. Let me check if there's another one. The last one is also what we did in the bank too. So remember that I think James probably remember this, that a financial advisor is able to provide attestation, signed message, proving a certain customer has the capability of investing in certain high-risk class assets, for example, junk bonds. and then the broker would take customers' money if the customer comes with such attestation. Now, if we convert that into a Ethereum example, that would be, in order to participate in ICO pre-sales, you need to carry money as well as attestation for proving that you are a sophisticated investor. Yeah, that would also be a use case of the check protocol. Because the check protocol was refined by Tor through this MVP quite a lot, I'm thinking about generalize it a little bit and then provide a paper on the use of attestation of check, and that is the line of work that can go on as we enter the second phase of send ether by identifier attestation MVP. And there are only 2 minutes left, so if you have any questions, please. But you can shoot more questions, just like anyone who wants to leave by on time can leave. I can stay a little bit longer.
In your ICO use case, why does it fit using the check protocol?
Oh, actually, no, it doesn't. Sorry, it's an attestation example. Sorry, I copied from the wrong page.
I like the authorization access. What would that actually look like in terms of the infrastructure?
Just like replace CEO with Alice and replace the employee with Bob, and we have Alice send 1 ether to Bob by email attestation protocol.
I'm thinking you could do, if you abstracted this slightly, you could do something similar that we talked about with the car next door. You know, how you can authorize somebody to use. So say if you've hired the car next door and you can authorize your friend to use it for an hour of your time.
Yeah,
let's say.
it's important to provide the privacy for your friend as well.
Yes, yes.
And that's why we use stuff like zero knowledge proof and.
So we would be generating an attestation from our current authorization. We can generate our own attestation, and then your friend who's going to be using the car for an hour would presumably sign some kind of payload within that attestation and then submit that to some kind of service, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some kind of infrastructure service that the car next door, decentralized car next door, is operating, or maybe even go one step beyond that, and actually the device that's operating inside the car itself can validate the attestation.
Oh yeah, yes, that's right. I think that will be a case of authorization. Where privacy needs to be provided. Basically, check is authorization already exists. The check protocol we're working on is simply provide a bit of privacy protection.
Yes, yeah, I really like this. So how would that actually appear in the wallet? So let's say I send the attestation to my friend, and then he will presumably it's like an XML or something like that, some kind of payload, email payload or chat payload. He will then click on that, and the wallet will open it, and then it will appear as an attestation inside his wallet that he can then interact with. Maybe.
Yeah. Sorry, I was distracted a bit. So say it again.
Okay, so let's go back to car next door one. Let's say I want to authorize my friend to use. I've hired a car next door, so I've got it for a day. I want to authorize my friend to use it for 1 hour. So presumably, I would generate an attestation based off of my authorization to use the car for one day. I would generate an attestation. Yes, I would generate an attestation, and then I would send that somehow to the friend. He clicks on it, and then it will appear as an attestation inside his wallet, which he can then interact with using the wallet.
If you can have a let's say if you start the protocol, like you are the borrower,
Yes.
Then you can just send your public key. You don't need attestation. But if the other person is starts the protocol, then he might need attestation.
Yes,
or if you have a car next door program, then you need
Yes.
intermediary attestation because your friend authorized car next door to arrange someone to use your car, and you are that person who is attested by car next door to use it.
Yes. I was actually talking about, say, if I'm authorizing a third party to use my temporary authorization. So let's say, I've just rented from car next door a car for 1 day, but I want a friend wants to use it for 1 hour. So I presumably there'd be some kind of flow that I can generate an attestation, send it to him, and he would then be able to interact with that attestation via his wallet to operate the car.
Yes, but that's already 2 tiers down because the website,
yes, that's right.
car owner authorized car next door and car next door authorized you, and the smart contract may limit the level to 2.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, this is like an abstract example, but yeah.
That would work, I think.
I mean, obviously there's limitations of like insurance and stuff like that. And so you'd need but if you had a standard insurance attestation, then the attestation that you give to your friend that's like a sort of a template from car next door would only work if your friend also submits an insurance valid, like a license and insurance validation attestations.
Yes, and in this case, there's a clear text attestation and there is a non-clear one. So what you do is you show the clear text attestation, which shows which insurance company insured whom to the website. And then when you connect it to smart contract, only the relevant information is used and other parts are obscured. And also that identity related information has to be hidden. It's getting more complicated that way, but generally the idea is you are able to pass some data. Pass some data between the party, and all of them can talk to the blockchain at the same time. Your model look like that. And that's basically that's it. Is that all good for this session? Boon, do you want to stay and talk with me about the JavaScript side of thing that you said you want more time to on that? Boon, hello?
Sorry?
Oh, I mean that the meeting is over technically, but anyone can stay. And Boon, if you want to have more time about JavaScript thing, do you want more time on JavaScript thing? Or do you want to actually talk about a different day?
Quick question on the TokenScript bootstrap.js.
Okay.
Could you show that screen where you have the HTML file?
Okay. So
not this, the other one.
Stop sharing. Yeah.
Yes. So is the TokenScript bootstrap.js replacement for when the TokenScript engine is not available?
Yes. In this case, there are a lot of problems, but we simply choose to say, in this case, people have to accept the problems. So one apparent problem is that if it is a checkout process, then the website is able to learn the user's balance. But let's simply say that Bootstrap has limitations, but it has certainly helped.
Yes. So if it's a replacement, I can't remember what were your exact words. Well, but why is it a very small subset of the TokenScript functionality?
Oh, that has nothing to do with Bootstrap. when you deploy TokenScript on the web, you only need to deploy the functionalities that is necessary for you to support the tokenization use. So, for example, if you are selling bicycles, your website is Boone's Bicycle Shop, okay, BB. Then you only need to include the payment token checkout action.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's reasonable too, because that's the how everything on the web is designed. And that's also one of the reasons we start with XML signature as well, because you can sign multiple portions of the website, like every action sign, you can sign it. So what you can do is to have you don't need to canonicalize it. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but the signature has nothing to do with canonicalization. Sorry, it has everything to do. XML signature is on the canonicalized node, but it doesn't require the XML file to be canonicalized. So you can have this XML file refer to pictures in other places, and then they would still work, as long as in the end the signature matches. But you want to canonicalize because that's happened to be a packaging method to deliver to the wallet. But on the web, it's not necessary. And if you don't trim it, it just doesn't work, because when bootstrap.js or even the TokenScript engine see that there's an entry token.xml, it has only two choices: either get the file or don't get the file. You cannot say, okay, let me get the file, but only the portion about action. So segmentation has to happen on the file level. Make sense?
No, not really.
Okay.
Let's say the full XML file has 3 actions, but in line 18, you are specifying one of them, so the other 2 are not loaded. What's wrong with that model?
In this case, the best practice is to include the TokenScript entry token.xml file without the 2 other actions, because it's not possible for TokenScript engine or bootstrap.js to only download the portion inside the entry token.xml that is related to the action. Because there's no way to download only a portion of the file, unless you set up a API service, which will be more complicated.
Can you give an example of what are the portions which should not be downloaded?
So let's say you have an entry token.xml file and has 8 megabytes. Let's say that every megabyte there are 8 languages in it. So you can chop off 7 of them if your HTML page is English, right? So that reduces your 8 megabytes into 1 megabyte. And then let's say you have entry token, which has 3 actions. One is called enter, and the other is called authorize, and the third is called revoke authorize. Then the authorize and revoke authorize only make sense in the wallet context. So you can just chop them off too. So you end up with only, let's say, half a megabyte.
So you're talking mostly about the views, which can be very big.
Yes, mostly views, yes.
No, okay.
You can also provide views in separate XML files, and the XML signature would also stand. That is also an alternative way of deploying it, but feels more complicated to me. So it's possible to deploy segments of XML file and then use the signature scheme to cover, XML signature can cover signature content not only in the current XML. So you can even have a separate file called signature.xml. That would be an interesting way to deploy it too. I feel that might be more complicated or challenging for the web guy, but with the right tool, that would be possible too. So in that case, you will have entry token.view1, entry token.view2.xml, entry token.view3.xml, entry token.data.xml, and signature.xml. As long as they, in the end, combine something that is valid.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and then the fact that TokenScript can be developed and deployed on the web without the requirement of the wallet, meaning without required user agent being able to download and maintain the version of every TokenScript file, is an intended feature. It has been in the beginning, but we have decided to focus on the wallet because 2 years ago, in a meeting, we decided to focus on the wallet simply because of that. But yeah. Yeah, I hope that addressed the concern. If you do you have any like design advice on this, or are you happy with?
I have a question. One more on
yeah.
line 5. Why do we need to declare the XML file rather than pass it into some kind of TokenScript constructor?
I don't understand.
So in line 5, you state that this page should work with the entry token.xml file.
Yes.
So the alternative is in line 10, why not create a new TokenScript object, passing in the TokenScript file instead?
That's something. So one example is token negotiation. So let's say this website is able to work with 10 different tokens. If you load bootstrap.js, token negotiation will be done automatically. There's no need to write a single line of JavaScript. And only the negotiated token will function. Shall I take you back to the token negotiation case?
Sure.
Okay, so token negotiation is also, we never prioritize it, but it's also one of our creations back in our experimentation with business cases. Let's see if maybe it's in doc. No, it's in I think James Aki put it in wiki. So in the case of token negotiation, the process doesn't start from JavaScript. It starts from the negotiation can happen with, you can do JavaScript-based negotiation or you can do automatic one. But the idea is once you have a token start to function. Not that you already know what token you are going to use. So in this case, you already know what token you are going to use, okay? Because this is just a website for this purpose. But if you're an e-commerce website, you might be compatible with 5 different tokens, and you want to negotiate a little bit. Instead of using JavaScript to check to create a token object for every one and download the XML unnecessarily, even though the token doesn't really exist. So maybe you can have you seen this before?
Yes, briefly, yes.
Okay, so so the negotiation ideally would happen here by declaring that this web page is able to work with tokens, like satisfying this query, and we need to in turn provide a JavaScript way that a bunch of JavaScript would be activated on negotiation. And by the time JavaScript is activated on negotiation, it's the TokenScript object is already created for it and pass it to it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's similar to how content negotiation is. Never mind. Yeah, So yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. If you have more questions, just shoot message on me on Telegram, and then we can go on from there. Okay.
Sure.
It's 1 hour long. Thank you very much for everybody who stayed.
Okay.
I just want to ask if you need me to write some prose for the general check thing, or
I'm thinking about writing an introductory piece that is only
okay.
3 minutes to 5 minutes reading, and
Right.
then put it
Okay.
somewhere on our document website.
Okay.
And then I can link back to it in my talk instead of actually providing a paper.
All right. Cool. Yeah, I think that sounds like a good idea.
Mm-hmm. And then we go through that route a little bit later.
Right.
Today
Okay.
only an introduction article, and it is 2 hours from now to my more than 3 hours now to my presentation. So I should be able to write a 5-minute article.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, just wanted to mention, as I sent you an email from a previous discussion about, well, actually it was a post in the community about attestation and the use case as well, where you were questioning why it hasn't really caught on previously when other people have looked at it. So it's just to keep people aware, like even though that the identifier of a person that is cashing a check or using the attestation is anonymized, the pattern is of course still being shown on the blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if this is an issue, but I could imagine that at least some of the very paranoid blockchain people are cautious about this. So just want to mention there are ways of also handling this issue using privacy-based privacy-attribute-based credentials. However, that's also something that has been around for a while and also hasn't caught on. But that has been more focused in the commercial space, where they haven't caught on, probably because they require some custom technology, whereas where businesses in the general space are not usually that happy about applying and changing the libraries and applying new cryptography. So I just want to mention, since the blockchain space is a bit different, that combining the attestation with attribute-based credentials in order to allow for basically non-traceable usage of attestation could be interesting. So
what I'm thinking is, for example, let's take the example of authorization case. Like our company received 2 million of investment, let's say, and this investment is saved in AAVE contract to generate interest. In the meanwhile, it gives us a line of credit so that we can pay certain goods and services with all the currencies that the website asks for. And in that use case, the attestation, employee attestation is definitely used together with authorization of the withdrawal operation. And this would already be a real use case that business can use, although it would necessarily expose the pattern. But however, the pattern is exposed anyway if they want to use Ether to pay anything. So if this can go through, then we will be able to see deeper. We will be able to see what made it go through, or if it doesn't go through, a business complain about it, then we will be able to say what is the reason. There's a good chance that the reason is related to privacy, but there's also might be a chance for example, businesses are simply too much concerned with regulation, and they simply want to cash out all the crypto investment in US dollar so that they can do it in the bank. Maybe that could be the case. So having the working prototype, like working more MVP, like sending Ether to someone by identifier, gives us the what's access to the landscape, I would say, so that we can look deeper into what is the real problem. The identity-based one is still interesting. Maybe we just keep that in mind as we explore this with business.
I mean, I would guess there's a way of combining it also, because I mean the keys of Ethereum are, you can derive new random keys from your current key. So I guess there would be a way of combining attribute-based credential and attestation with newly derived keys also to hide the address. But I mean, in any case, if it's money based, you need to get your money out of whatever address it comes to at some point, right? But in particular, in the case where it's meant for like borrowing a car or access, basically, like authorizing things, it might make sense to do an add-on based on attribute-based credentials in order to hide usage pattern, especially when there's nothing of nothing financial involved that can be used to trace.
Yeah,
I just wanted to mention it, and just keeping it in mind.
Yeah, that's certainly interesting, and certainly something that knowing that is available if we have this problem is really good. Should we explore it right now? Probably not, but very, very useful in the long run. Also, if you have a third-party attester who is able to attest like which contract job is done, you can simply observe what he attested on and learn a lot of things. Yeah. That is the issue. Yeah. Also in trade finance would be an issue, I think. Yeah. Let's see which business can we marry first.
I mean, I would guess a lot of situations, because basically in those situations you get some secret, you attest to some secret value, which is then used to derive a proof, basically. So this means that even the attester cannot see if this attestation has been used to derive a certain proof.
Well, my brain is half dead now.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk later. Thank you a lot. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Thank you. Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.